Ooh, funkified. Um, so today I am going to talk about your monstrous soul. I heard this explained or heard the first time I heard of your monstrous soul was from Bobby Hemmett. And he had explained that your soul is what you would consider gruesome. Your soul is what you would consider ugly, maimed, a monster, if you will. It made me think today. What came to me was just about how reclaiming your internal architecture and reclaiming your rhythm, how going along this journey and accepting yourself, accepting the depth of you is accepting all parts of you, not just the pretty on the outside, right? And this morning I was writing and I was just talking about how reclaiming your internal architecture means you're reconfiguring your blueprint to its former glory of majesty. And what does that mean? Reconfiguring your blueprint to its former glory of majesty. To me, this means to accept yourself for your true self, accept yourself, um, having your vessel accept its internal word, its internal knowledge, its internal blueprint. Um, I think sometimes we don't realize that we like to say to ourselves that we are whole and we are one, but we don't realize how we truly separate this me and the I and the am, I guess you can say. Like we don't really pay attention to how much like we really separate that. And there is a idea of you there's something that's navigating and there's something that's calling the shots. There's something that's moving the ship. There is something there's a ship and then there's the captain of the ship, right? And that's what you have right now within this human body. The human body is the ship and there's a captain. The captain is the soul. The captain is your brain, the mind. The captain is your emotions, your heart. So there's something that's giving instructions and there's something that's taking instructions. So reconfiguring your blueprint is reconfiguring the instructions, reconfiguring it so that the ship, the vessel, can move in a space of wholeness. A lot of the times, the vessel doesn't realize how valuable the captain is, and the captain doesn't realize how valuable the vessel is. So, when you go in to start to bloom, to start to understand your seed information, your blueprint, your foundation, your internal workings, first of all, that you have systems, but then also how are these systems working? Not just working in a individual space, but how are they working together? How does your cardiovascular system work with your endocrine system? How does your digestive system work with your reproductive system? Do you understand what I'm saying? And not just that, but within those systems, how do the liver and the kidney work together? How does the brain and the heart work together? And those two, the brain and the heart, are the ones that are normally at odds. okay? Them two and the communication that they have back and forth with one another serves a purpose to how everybody else acts. How everybody else acts. And when them two are not on one accord, now the children are running at bay. Now the systems are running at bay because I don't know if you guys know this, but your heart is your first organ. And if I'm not mistaken, I think your brain is your second. I don't really have a place to like look that up. I'm just going to go with it. If it's not true, perfectly fine. But I do know your heart is the first organ that is created when you're created within your mother's body. And there's a lot of speak about the mind is all, the mind is all, the mind is all. And we think that the mind means the brain, but there are multiple brains within your body. The one in your head may be the biggest, but there's a small brain within your heart. There's a small brain within your gut. You have many brains, but we tend to only focus on one. So anyway, let's get back to this monstrous soul, right? So when I was writing down this morning, I was writing about, like I said, reclaiming your internal architecture means reconfiguring your blueprint to its former glory um, of majesty, right? An original artwork, an original work of art, accepting the beauty of the monster, right? The monstrous soul. And if you think about this, when I was writing this out, I said, if we had to walk around inside out, we would frown and discuss. But the inside is what produces the outside. I mean, could you really think about that? If you had to unzip yourself and flip yourself inside out, we would all be like, like, what the F? If you had to look at yourself from the inside, you had to watch a human heart beating. You had to watch the food that you thought was so pretty and so cute. Oh my gosh, looks delicious. Do you know what that looks like after it goes down your throat? We would have to watch the actual process of compost within your body. What your esophagus does, what your stomach does, what your intestine does, what's the liver, like all of these things. Could you imagine if we had to see that, right? So when I say your monstrous soul, there is an inner version of you that you have no vision of. The vision of it is darkness. The vision of it is within the darkness, right? So reclaiming your internal self is accepting and being okay with the ugly parts, the disgusting parts, the parts that are just, normally not accepted, you know? So reclaiming and renaming the internal body as beauty is an act of accepting what isn't normal, right? Because accepting your true internal self is actually not normal in our world. Is not normal in our world. Our world was built upon um actual other people's opinions, but then also you creating this dialogue within yourself of other people's opinions or what you um think these opinions are. So the beauty of within, or even calling your insides beautiful, is really not something that you do. So accepting this monster, accepting what would be deemed as ugly or disgusting, will take an act of rejecting normalcy, right? It will take an act of rejecting basically what you know to be beauty. It's a full blown tap into your internal space. your internal understanding. And it means taking a look at yourself, taking a look at your thoughts, taking a look at why you think the way you think. Or, matter of fact, not necessarily think the way you think, but accept the thoughts that you do accept, right? So, a part of this is rejecting the conditioning of you're unworthy, the conditioning of your outer appearance isn't beautiful. The conditioning is you can't do this. The conditioning is you have to do this like this. The conditioning is that the true you is disgusting. The true you is not beautiful. And I get it. We live in a world that likes to be seen. Our world is an attention-based world. And what are we setting our sights on, you know? But the reality of it is, the true reality of it is that your internal space is what creates that space. So whatever we were conditioned to believe, it's not a fixed thing. We can change that. We can change our conditioning. We can change how we see ourselves, and we also can change how we see the outside world, others, right? So I think the biggest thing, well, not I think, I know the biggest thing is your awareness of your thoughts and your feelings, right? So I'm going to share a story with you. I got up this morning and I was sitting in my chair over there and I just started to write. Let me see if this is some of my writings right here. And the first thing that I wrote was listen, listen, listen. The truth and the way. Shut out the noise, right? I've been pulled for the past few weeks to shut out the noise. And what does that feel like? Do you feel in your body? Not do you. You will feel in your body when a decision needs to be made, and then also that decision is the best decision for you, right? And when it comes to the point that you feel it in your body, I want you to know that that means that that thing has been trying to get your attention. I call this feeling in your body a sizzle. And then the sizzle is it's likened to a energetic burst, but it's also a actual physical sensation that feels like your equilibrium could be distorted. Not necessarily off, but like distorted. Um and then there is the other thing that's called a glitch. And the glitch is more of a mental type space. It feels like your brain is scattered and you don't know what to ground in. You don't know what to ground in. Well, actually, you do know what to ground in. You're just choosing not to, right? So the sizzle is you having conflicting feelings about something, right? Or you're accepting it as conflicting because you won't choose, right? And sometimes making that choice means that you have to um what's the word? You have to change your trajectory, or you have to change your focus, or move your focus in a different direction. And the sizzle is you not wanting to do that. You not wanting to do that. You think that you are going to continue to move into a new space, but still be able to do the same things that you used to do, right? And that's not always the case, but majority of the time, more often than none, you set in motion something big, right? Especially if you did this consciously, you set in motion something big. And whatever energy you put behind that, your subconscious mind, everything is conspiring to have that thing happen, right? So if you were told to stop something or do this instead of that, but you kept denying it or you didn't do it. And once you start to feel these things within your body, and when I say feel these things within your body, I'm talking about that sizzle and that glitch. When you start to feel those things in your body, when it comes up to a physical sensation, that means that it's yelling now, right? It's yelling. It's far beyond the little nudge that it gave you before. Something told me to, you know what I mean? Or dang, I should have went that way. Or dang, I should have, like, there's those weird prompts that say do this or do that, that you dismissed, right? Because you set something in motion, it's going to follow the plan. It's going to follow the plan. And let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if what you set in motion is for your benefit or your demise. It's going to follow the plan, right? Because it's going to follow whatever energetic imprint was on it when it got started, right? So so the noise that I was saying in the beginning, it said, listen, 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 the truth and the way. And I'll be very honest and transparent with y'all. I wanted to continue listening to a mentor, but I felt myself in constriction because this mentor is moving so fast. And I felt myself wanting to keep up. But my own internal self had been telling me, you need to step back, because the desire to keep up, if you're not already paced with something, you're not already moving in flow with that, the desire to keep up turns into rushing. And rushing is counterproductive to trusting yourself. Let me say that again. Rushing is counterproductive to trusting yourself, because trusting yourself allows you to ground into you. When you're grounded into you, you make the best decisions for you. And the best decision for you doesn't involve rushing, because it's for you. And what's for you is going to run, walk, swim, move, flow at the pace of you. Okay? And I know this. And I felt the constriction. I felt the sizzle in my body. I felt the glitching in my mind. And these are these spaces. These are these symptoms. These are the symbols. These are the triggers to let you know when you have made a conscious decision to go against yourself. And that's what I did for a few weeks. Because sometimes new things become highs. And the mentor was just speaking my language. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. But what happens is now the glitching and the sizzle match together. Sizzle plus glitching now equals overwhelmed. Now equals a threat to trust for yourself. Now equals not having focus. That now turns into a loop, and you find yourself in that uncertainty gap, right? If you're not aware that you are in the uncertainty gap, you're not using the time within that space to collect data, because the uncertainty gap is about data collection. It is where you pause and kind of get a bird's eye view of things and redirect, get back on course. But if you continue to try to challenge this space, you'll go backwards. You'll keep trying to create balance where it really isn't about that, right? So anyway, that's what that's what that was what happened to me this morning. And back to the monstrous soul. So the monstrous soul, this is me looking at the ugly. This is me looking at the ugly. The ugly is the truth about your patterns. The ugly is the truth about your habits, your addictions. Um, you know what I mean? You have to get real about, do you really believe that you're worthy? Do you really believe that you're powerful? Because we could say a lot of things. We could say a lot of things. It's the knowledge is power, and thinking you can just leave it at that. No, there's something that could be added to that. Knowledge is power, but if you don't use the power, then what's the point? It's the same thing that people say, faith without works is dead. Yeah, the faith is cool, but what are you doing to match it, right? Everything has same coin. It has two sides, and more than two sides, but for the sake of this, two sides, right? What is on without off? What is up without down? You know, what is light without dark? So you have to know that. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. Um, but anyway, uh, I really did lose my train of thought. Anyway. Oh, right. The monstrous soul, and accepting the duality of it all, right? So let me see, where else was I at in here? I had gotten to a place where I was thinking about um let me read this to you. We're just talking about the feeling, right? So where are you within that uncertainty gap, within that sizzle, within that glitch, you have to get back clear. You have to get back, not just, you have to become concise. You have to be, stern on what you is, get clear. But how do you get concise without clarity, right? And I wrote down in here, it's interesting to yearn for balance, because remember how I said, like, you, in these spaces, you think that you're going to balance your new self and your old self together, right? And I'm not saying that parts of yourself cannot be in your new version. Obviously, that's the thing, that is a thing. But there are parts of yourself that cannot go, right? So you have to decide which can and cannot go. But how do you do that if you're not aware, right? And most of the stuff that you need to analyze and take a look at is things that are in the darkness of you. There are things that are laying in areas that you don't want to look at. You don't want to look at the ugly. You don't want to look at the ugly. No, we don't never want to look at the ugly. No, no, we can't look at the ugly. So anyway, so instead of looking at the ugly, we decide to try to balance these two things together. And it's really not a thing. It's really not a thing. Um, so anyway, it's interesting to yearn for balance on a deep level. Balance of what? Work in life, work in relationships, work in and reality in itself. Um, you as your persona, as a person, you as your soul, your spirit, you as your mental faculties and your emotions. Like, there's all these things that seem like they're fighting for a space. How do we allow this to happen? And then I realized, you know what? Balance has always been about wholeness. Balance has always been about wholeness, but the part that has not been included is the capacity. You want the balance, but you don't have the capacity to hold it. You don't have the capacity to hold your nervous system doesn't have the capacity to hold the balance of work and life, the balance of work in your relationship, the balance of life, your reality mixed with who you really are, your feelings, your emotions. You know what I'm saying? Your monstrous soul, the largeness, the vastness, the big of you. You haven't allowed the space for yourself. So you continuously struggle in these spaces to find balance, but you're looking for something that's not going to happen because, one, you haven't let enough stuff go in order to incorporate these things that you're trying to bring into a wholeness. And then two, you haven't allowed it. You haven't declared wholeness. You haven't declared wholeness, right? So, you feel in your body the head sizzle and the glitch. It's a crossover into the areas of the unknown, the areas of unknown territory. The feeling is the indication of something new. It is possibly old or always been there, but experience it without running. You are now experiencing it without running from it. It is a different ball game, right? And this is what I was talking about inside of the uncertainty, inside of the gap. You now are being aware of something, and you are allowing the information to educate you. You are allowing your stream of thoughts to educate you. You are allowing the sensations in your body to educate you. You are allowing your feelings to educate you. Because You are your school. You are your school. Your life is the purpose. You're not seeking a purpose. You are the purpose. You are the mission. Okay? So, um, to stay in the sizzle, to wait in the glitch, to ask, what y'all got going on here? It's crazy work. Now listen, I know that sound weird too. Like it's crazy work. It is crazy work. But listen, you gotta be crazy or go crazy to explore yourself. You have to have the audacity to play seek and find of and with yourself. What the heck? What the heck? I'm going to say that again. You got to be crazy or go crazy to explore yourself. You have to have the audacity to play seek and find of and with yourself. You need to go against normalcy. Normalcy says being selfish is not a good thing. But being selfish is how you're going to take these eyes off of out there and use the eye in here and focus on what's in here. Okay? The world is giving you a fake, very surface level routine or way of doing things that make you think that you are finding yourself, right? But the reality of finding yourself is really not finding, it's remembering, right? When you as a person find something, it was already there, right? So when you say things like, oh, I lost my keys or I lost my bag or something like that, when you find it, it's sort of like you remembered where it was. You didn't really find it. You put it there. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with yourself. You're going to have to go crazy, loco. You're going to have to go crazy to get into yourself. And the thing that's so interesting is that you're going to find the real wealth, which will then translate as wealth in many forms, right? So you'll find the wealth of self. You'll find the wealth of self. This is where you're going to find your worthiness, okay? Because the world outside of you dictates where you feel worthy. And it's because they use separatism, they use y'all know what I'm trying to say. Compartmental, you know what I'm trying to say. So they use that, they compartmental, what the heck? Compartmentalize. I think that's right. I don't know. Anywho, they use these things to break you down and create what I call crystal cities, create areas of disempowerment within you, right? So the example is for a Black woman, these things may be her skin color or your skin color. You know what I'm saying? You're too dark, you're too light. That's one space. Then there's gender. A woman is less than a man. Then there is things like weight. You're better if you're small, you're better if you're big, this and that, whatever. There's things like sexuality, there's things like political, views, and activism and religion, and there's all of these things that have been put in place for you to be disempowered. And each one of these things, each one of these conditionings, each one of these signals that you tap into, then what is the word? I don't know what is going on this morning. I don't know what's going on this morning. But each one of those things denigrates um, how you feel about yourself, right? So your concept of yourself is diminished over time, and you don't consider yourself worthy. You don't consider yourself powerful. You don't consider yourself, you may not say this out loud, but you don't consider yourself um to have the capabilities to fully steer your life. And um I do believe that that is the reason why a lot of people tend to go to look for um a religious or a god to worship, is because they don't trust their own ability to be the own god of themselves, right? But anyway, so like I said, you have to go crazy in order to find yourself. You have to go crazy to even have, the gumption to go looking. And but let me tell you something, when you go look for yourself, you're not going to find yourself, you're going to remember yourself. You're going to be able to see yourself in everything. Bobby Hemmett said that when this whole thing about the Hermetic school of knowledge, or whatever it was, the initiates, for the first 30 years, I think he said 30 or well, no, for the first 30 years, you and the priest or whoever was the teacher or whatever would teach you about everything. The sky, the land, the plants, the animals, the spirits, like all of these things. And it would teach you first, just like we do the same thing. It would teach you the outer external version of those things first. But then when you turn 30, the priest would come to you and say, remember all that stuff that I told you? That's all you. And then you spent 30 to 40 reconfiguring your internal architecture to accept that information. Okay? So now you accepted that you were Hermes. You were Thoth. You were uh what's the all the Anubis. You were Isis. You were all of these things. You're Jesus, you know? Everything is a culmination of everything. You were all those things. You were the tree that you were studying. You were the roots that you were studying. And it's interesting because, I believe that some people go to school for specific things and they don't even realize that you're going to school to study you. Like even medical doctors, like I don't think that they connect to, no, it's the study of you. Everything is the study of you. But you've been told that it's the study of that. Cells is the study of you. Because if you went to school, you've been told for a very long time that there's trillions and trillions of cells on your body. Your body is made up of trillions and trillions of cells. So how is it that we don't study cells? How come cells isn't a part of a full-blown K through 12 curriculum, if that's what we are? You know what I mean? Instead, our beginning is to immediately learn how to identify, objectify, name. We don't learn about our heart. We don't learn about why when we put something in our mouth one way and it comes out looking a completely different way. We don't learn about that. We learn A for apple. We learn A for apple. Okay, so the balance is about capacity. Um the balance that we seek is truly about allowing yourself to stretch so that you can hold and handle yourself internally as well as externally. It is about permission and allowing, then receiving a perpetual state of giving, and receiving. Okay. So then I move towards this, realizing that a perpetual state of giving has become normal. And normalcy is insanity. This is why balance feels unattainable, because you seek it through a filter of giving more. Output plus output does not equal input. It equals depletion. You know, when you see yourself as a giver, and guess what? The funny thing is you don't even have to see yourself as the giver. You've been programmed to give more than you receive. Okay? How many people turn down people trying to pay them back? How many people turn down people trying to just give them a gift? How many people turn down compliments? Do compliments make you feel uncomfortable? Right? So you come up with this output, 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 and that's how you work. But once again, I'm having a masterclass March 28th or 29th. I can't remember the thing. I'm going to put a post up about it. But your operating system is or was under siege. You were operating from a excessive output system and wondering why you weren't getting anything, or what you got still didn't satisfy you. And the reason why is because the output was energetic, also physical, because you did this with your physical body. But the input that you got was only physical. Your input of physical things did not match the input of energy, the input of nourishment. Those things didn't match. You put all of this output in. You just pushing, you pushing, you pushing, you pushing. You're a go-getter. You're a hustler. You doing what you got to do. But you still feel unsafe. You don't feel secure. You feel like whatever you have, it's limited. And don't get me wrong, it is limited. You can't take it with you when you go. But you see it as being limited in your life, in your living. It's because you haven't prepared your internal environment for wholeness. You prepared yourself for the physical part. You prepared yourself for the tangible. You didn't prepare yourself for the energy. You don't have the capacity to hold it. That's why it feels like it's slipping through your fingers. And we'll take it back to you don't think you're worthy enough to keep it. Okay? So when you continue this output plus output, thinking you're going to get some level of input on a vertical space, you only get input on a horizontal space. So your output is only here, but you're forgetting this part. You're forgetting this part. You're forgetting the energy that flows this way, right? So you're getting depletion. You're getting disempowered. You're getting confusion. You're getting static. You're getting scared. You're getting lack. And those things are loops. Because if there's no output input, if there's no plus minus, if there's no on off, where's your rest period in between in order to scale up or scale out, expand? If you're only coming from one side of yourself, you're using the same thing over and over and over and over again. So now you're unbalanced and you're searching for balance in your external environment where the balance is the balance of energetics within, the balance of your left and right brain, the balance of your heart in your brain, the balance of the bottom and the top. You're not looking at it from a space of wholeness. You're only looking at it from 180 degrees, not a 360 sphere. So you're circling the drain. And what I wrote was, you're circling the drain, meaning you're standing in front of the portal entrance, unwilling to jump. One, to ride the ride, and two, to see what's on the other end. So there goes the insanity. You're just standing there watching the vortex. It's too fast. I don't know what's going on. I can't see all the way through. I can't prepare. What am I supposed to do? You know what? I'll just stay over here. I'll just stay over here malnutritioned and depleted and confused and accepting the smallness of me. I'll stay small. That's what I'll do. Because it's too scary over there. It's too scary over there. Listen, I get it. I get it. I get it. But I'll tell you this, doing this is going through the portal. Me doing this is going through the portal. Step into the light, Caroline. Step into the light. So there goes the insanity, like I said. You continue the fear, the telling, saying one thing, but doing another. Okay? So what do? What did I do? In this movie, I can't remember what it's called. It's Ashton Kutcher and Katherine Heigl, I think. And there's this part in this movie, and this husband and wife are doing something. I don't know. They have masks on, and they're trying to rob these people. And she's like, "Stick to the plan. Stick to the plan." Um, that's what I did. If you chose a road to go, if you chose um a new concept of yourself, seeing your monstrous soul, seeing yourself as beautiful in all aspects. If you chose to see yourself larger than where you are right now, if you chose to see yourself out of your current circumstance, then you stick to the plan. And sticking to the plan means you listen to yourself. You start trusting yourself. You start all those things that you keep looking for outside of yourself, you start to find them within yourself. You want somebody worthy enough to be your partner. Well, you find yourself as worthy enough. You want somebody to trust out there in the streets, then you trust yourself. You want loyalty out there in the streets, then you be loyal to yourself and stop betraying yourself. Because once you start doing those things for yourself, you'll stop accepting anything less than outside of yourself. It's called self-love. But the same way that you gain these things outside of yourself is the same way that you're going to do it for yourself. And this is once again why I say you need to understand your internal operating system. What is the codes? What instructions have you set in place to run your life? Because the systems that we were under, honey, they have warped your systems. A collective broadcast signal, anything born in that signal has that signal attached to it as an individual. The individual has the choice to change their own internal broadcast signal operating system. Within a system, society that has different sectors, when you take yourself out of the system, you do have to do a reboot or a reset, a debriefing in order to see what you were working with at the time. So you now change your internal broadcasting signal, the architecture of that. You get to change the codes. You get to change the trajectory. And guess what? We are at a time in history, her story, that the ages have shifted. And more now than ever, every living thing, everything has the ability to go into their own personal space and evolve. Do you have what it takes? This is why there's going to be new fish that we're eating, new plants, new vegetables, new trees. Things are going to look different. New bugs, new species of things, new ways of thinking, new ways of understanding, new ways of producing. All of these things, because now Pandora's box is open and everything is up for grabs. But you might want to grab yourself first. Because if you gather and grab yourself, then you'll know what to get over there and out there. Okay? My phone is about to to die. So, let me see where else I have here. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it for today. Um, just remember that the way your perspective and your perception of things can be whatever you want. So the uncertainty doesn't have to be what they say it is. You get to choose by changing your internal architecture. So I'm going to go. Oh, I watched the sunrise today. That was cute. I feel like I haven't watched the sunrise in a very long time. I don't even want to really think about how long it's been since I actually watched the sunrise. But anyway, um, I have once again, I don't know why. Oh, wait, is it right here? Let me see. No, I don't know where my paper is. But it said when I was doing that, I got and I can't look at a calendar right now. But anyway, I'm going to post about it. I'm doing a free master class on recognizing your internal operating system. And let me see something. Hold on. My phone is about to die. Um recognizing one that you have a operating system that you are running off of. And analyzing and questioning and seeing where you're at, and then also how to create or remember a operating system of wholeness. It's a master class on the 28th or the 29th. Not absolutely sure. It's going to be Sunday evening on that day, whatever day that is. Also, if you would like to figure out whether or not your signal is also coming, like a quick way, if your signal is broadcasting something of ownership and sovereignty, independency for yourself, then please take my free download sovereignty signal test to kind of gauge where you are within your life and see where you're operating from. Just a quick little one, too. That's free as well. Please download that. And yeah, I'll see you guys when I see you. Later.